Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. It is Local Chat, episode 214. We are back. We're here. We're ready to go. I just realized this is the crew that was on the previous episode. So, folks, if you're binging these, if you're Netflix and chilling, are you still watching this, daughter? Whatever those jokes. If you're getting railed to this podcast right now.
There you go. That's the joke I was expecting.
Then think of us. We're here to talk about video games. I'm looking at the wrong camera. We're here to talk about video games and also other things. Joining me is Ian Gibson, fresh from Japan.
Hello, I am back.
And also Kyle Bailey. What's the opposite of fresh? Moldy from Japan, because it's been a while.
It's been a couple years. Yeah, no, I have long since gotten stale.
Stale, yeah. Thank you. There's the word.
We immediately went for moldy.
Yeah, I was thinking fresh, moldy. Sorry, I set up my camera again because I had to film a thing, and now I'm using it. And Karen was in here, and I was like, man, I forget how good cameras can look when it's not a security camera.
Say, you look suspiciously high def
into an analog fucking mixer. But yeah, so it's good to be high res again. Let's get right into it. The big news: the reciprocal tariffs from China are simply too much. Ian brought them all the way. Ian, you were investigating the tariff problem in Japan. How did it come out? How did we work that out?
I'm so glad you brought it up because it only took a couple of days before I had to have an awkward conversation with an old Japanese man about Donald Trump.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah, we were on like one of these little historic train routes through the mountains, and it was a fun little train ride. But there's 5 in our group, and the seats are grouped by 4 people. So it ended up being me by myself across from an old Japanese couple. and we were just kind of like staring at each other for a while. And then the guy was just like, and then in broken English, we started talking. And he was like, where are you from? And I'm like, we're from Florida. And he goes, oh, we're from Osaka. And I was like, okay. And he goes, oh, Donald Trump from Florida. And I was like, yeah, he is. And he's like, you like Donald Trump? And I said, no, I do not. And he like shook my hand and he's like, oh, thank you so much. Basically. And then his wife was like, I guess in Japanese being like, what's going on? And he was like, he doesn't like Donald Trump. And she's like, oh, okay. And I was like, I'm so sorry for him. And then we laughed about it. So yeah, I was not planning to, but I did have to apologize for Donald Trump. Crazy.
I mean, you did the nation a service for reaching out to Japan like that, crossing barriers. It's amazing. How was the trip? I know we had you on 2 weeks ago to talk about your terrible flight and other such goings-ons. You were headed to Tokyo last we talked to you.
Yes. I was in Kyoto at the time. I went to the Grand Prix on Sunday, the Japanese Grand Prix, which was a lot of fun. It's my third Formula One race, so I think I've gotten used to it because it's not a normal sporting event. Like, you're not going to be able to follow the actual sporting event that well, and you have to approach it as like something to explore and find your own enjoyment, as opposed to like going to a baseball game, right? You sit down, you watch the game. That doesn't happen in an F1 race. It's just the nature of the sport. And so the race itself was boring. It was processional, basically. The people who started top 10 ended top 10. But the track was actually awesome because I don't know why they did this, but it was pretty cool. But just outside the track, but still part of like the complex, they have like a little amusement park area with like 4 or 5 different rides and like 2 roller coasters and a big Ferris wheel and stuff. So like literally as soon as you get to the circuit, it's just this like festive atmosphere, right? And then you get inside and there's all these merch tents selling stuff, and then there's a whole bunch of food booths, and a lot of them were local food, and some of them were even local food trucks, and all of it was pretty cheap. Like I think I got like a roast beef and rice bowl for like $5. No, I think I spent $4 on it, and then I got a beer so the beer was $3, but I ended up spending $6 to get like the promotional cup with it that I could take home. But yeah, so it was just like great food. And then I talked about how I had general admission tickets instead of grandstand tickets, but it depends on the track. But this ended up being a really good track for general admission because it basically meant the entire western half of the track I could walk around. And so as I'm walking around, they have all these little spots where you're like walking next to the catch fence 4 feet from the track. So if you just stand there, the cars will go right by you, you know, and you're right there at the action. Or like these little like they had grassy hills, and so I would like lay on a grassy hill and like take a nap for 20 minutes and then wake up and walk around a little bit more. So there was
all your
like
stuff was gone.
Like literally. Yeah, no, it was Japan. I was totally safe. Everybody else was napping around me too. But yes, there was like dozens of like little tiny viewing spots that you could watch the race from. So that was really fun. I'm normally not a fan of Suzuka as a circuit, and I was hesitant to like travel to Japan for the Grand Prix, but the way it worked out, the timing of it, if anybody's interested in going, it actually ended up being like a fairly cheap and cool race to go to. So highly recommend it for all you Formula One fans out there.
Noted.
I did have a definite Japanese moment, which was so we were staying in Nagoya for like a day, not to do anything in Nagoya, but it was just a nice stopping point between Kyoto and Tokyo, and it was near the track and everything. And so we get to the hotel at like 7 o'clock at night, and on the way to the hotel, I passed by like 4 like anime hobby shop stores, and I was like, oh fuck yes. And by the time we got out of the hotel, there was only one that was still open. So we go in it, and it's an anime store, and they've got a bunch of like, you know, manga books and anime and magazines and stuff. And it's fairly small. It's probably about the size of like honestly a Blockbuster. That's the thing that's popping in my head. It was the size of a Blockbuster, right? So a bunch of shelves. And so I was looking around it, and I pretty quickly noticed that it was a bunch of like mommy waifu anime, and there was a little bit of Gundam, and then literally no separation, no indication. As soon as you step to the back half of the store, which was just the second set of shelves, just full blown hentai on display.
Hell yeah!
like other shops had like a little curtain saying 18 plus. This place was just like, nah, man, you walk to the second set of shelves. Now you're gonna see all of it. And I just did a quick tour, and I went back to the front, and Maggie was like, "What's back there?" And I was like, "Gotta go see for yourself." And she went back there, and she came back, and she was like, "Well," and I was like, "Yep, time to go." Yeah. So that was a very fun experience. I don't know, how much hentai did you come across in your time in Japan, Kyle?
Well, there was like a gay bear sex shop literally 5 blocks from my hotel room. Like, it was crazy close. So there was like some comics and what is the word? Is it Dalgini or Dalchini? I don't know. I forget what it's called. It's like hentai, but it's like a certain kind of thing. I don't know what it is, but there are a bunch of those.
He knows.
And then I went to I did actually buy some. I'm not gonna lie, because it was cool. It was like, this is like a novelty thing. I'm not gonna find this in America.
Where are these tentacles going? I gotta find out.
No, I did not buy any eggs though. No Temu, or not Temu eggs.
Temu eggs.
Tenga
No,
eggs.
Temu eggs. That's a knockoff ones, man. You gotta be careful with those. You can get a rash.
You can get pregnant.
Yeah, they're all made of lead. No, I went to this place called the Mandrake, which is like it's sort of like a really, really expansive underground, it's like actually underground library. And they had just like any kind of book or comic or manga that you could imagine, Japanese, English, like it was all different types of stuff, and mixed in amongst the shelves was like hentai stuff. Like it was right next to, like, there was like kids stuff, and then literally like hentai featuring kids. I'm assuming.
Makes sense.
But yeah, but yeah, it was sort of like all there, and there was no curtain. Like there was no like this section is for adults only. It was just out there. So
Yeah, it was quite surprising because we'd seen the curtain at a couple other shops, but to just have it out in the open was surprising to us.
Yeah.
Video game related though, we did finally make it to the second to last day of the trip. We made it to Akihabara in Tokyo, which is if you know anything about Tokyo video games, it's like the video game electronica district, and it's pretty fucking wild because like speaking about like hentai and anime, like you come out of the shop and there's just hundreds of shops, and then it's like almost like Times Square, like there's just all these billboards with all these like anime and pseudo hentai advertisements and stuff. And it was funny because the group I went with, you know, I'm into video games and electronics. There's one other person that's a little bit into video games, and the other people don't really care. But they knew that Akihabara was a good neighborhood. And so it's one of those things where they're like, yeah, we should go to Akihabara. And I'm like, yeah, we need to go. Like, it's on my list. And they're like, okay. And we go there, and immediately they're like, oh, this is awesome. Because there were like all these like little niche, you know, shops selling anime stuff. That was the first time we went to Bic Camera. Did you ever go to a Bic Camera?
We walked by. There were a couple of them. I don't think we ever went in though.
Mm-hmm. It's just like, it's like a Best Buy plus department store, but like much better. So it's just, you know, like, what, all sorts of electronics and stuff.
We walked by one. We went to, I don't know if you saw it. We went to the Razer store. It was like a Razer computer store. It was just Razer randomly scooter. There. Yeah, no. They might have had some. I don't know. But yeah, it was like that was sort of like, okay, let's just go. I've never seen this before. And then what's the one you were talking about just now?
Bic Camera.
Yeah, I can't remember if we went into one of those, but then we went into it's not specifically electronic, but like a Don Quixote. Like that was that was it. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like a big electronic department store, and we ended up spending like an hour and a half in there because every floor was just like all sorts of crazy good stuff.
Is that where you found that that portable VHS player with the little screen on it?
No, that was at a Hard Off. So there's a chain of used stuff in Japan called Book Off and Hard Off, and I think there's another one called Soft Off. So Book Off is like mostly used books. Hard Off is mostly used hardware. And there was one of those in Akihabara, and yeah, they had a whole bunch of stuff. They had a lot of crazy stuff. They had a whole section that was just used guitars. But yeah, like you mentioned in the Discord, I found this. It looked like a portable VCR with a 2.5-inch CRT. I looked it up later. It's actually older than that. It's a reel-to-reel tape security system. Order with a 2-inch screen. Yeah. It was just they just had all sorts of weird stuff like that. They had a couple Laserdisc players. Then they have used laptops and like used Wii U's and like PS2 Slims for $20 and things like that.
Nice.
They also had a whole bunch of video game stores, so that's one of the big things that Akihabara is known for. They have Super Potato there. It was kind of cool going to Super Potato just to be like, I'm in Super Potato, but holy shit, their prices are basically American prices now at Super Potato. Like, people have been saying it for the last year or two that Akihabara and Japanese game prices have gone up. They're still less than America, but they're not as cheap as they used to be. But it felt like all these other stores were like 50 to 75% of US prices, and Super Potato was like 100 to 150% US prices. So it was more going there as like a museum to be like, oh, this is like the big game store that's been here one of the longest and made this neighborhood crazy over the decades, and all these other stores have popped up because of it. But like, you're literally just like we didn't go more than like 3 blocks in Akihabara, but we hit like 30 stores. And there was like one point where we're walking along and we just see a staircase heading down, and just like a sign that says like retro games downstairs, and we go down there, and it's like this like 20 by 20 foot store, but it's just jam packed with retro video games. Like they had if you've ever seen old arcade games, they have the circuit boards that you put in those arcade cabinets. They had like 30 of them just like packaged. Gosh. Like just the amount of stuff they had there, a whole bunch of Famicom disk systems, stuff like that. Probably one of the craziest things I saw was it was a big handheld, like the size of a Steam Deck, and it looked like it was only maybe 10 or 15 years old. It was like a Steam Deck, but with like Wavebird style grips on it. And it had a big screen on it, like a 6 or 7 inch screen on it. But then you look on the back, and it has a cartridge slot for Super Famicom games. So it was a portable Super Famicom, like third party system. So yeah, it's just all sorts of weird stuff like that. The one thing I did end up buying was a PlayStation Vita, which I'll show off because
Nice.
it took me a while to find this. I kept finding it at some stores and they were like $200. And I know in the US they go for like 150, but I finally found this store that had a bunch of them used in box. There was like 5 or 6 of them. And the guy was super nice because, you know, we were able to kind of talk and translate a little. It all had like condition labels on them, and he like walked me through it and like was nice enough to like break the seal and open them up and let me like touch them and handle them. But anyways, yeah, I got this Vita for like I think 130.
Nice.
And I took it out of the box, and I know it's used, but it's so unused that I can't find any marks on it, and the back touchscreen still had the protective peel on it from when it was
hell yeah.
That's like new.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. I modded that and it's working really well. So that was like the one big thing that I really wanted to get from this trip was a Vita, because I knew it would be like $200 in the US. So yeah, overall a very good trip. The last thing I'll end with, Kyle, I'm glad you're here because I feel like you've got some good experience here. Is there was part of me, a very small part of me, that was like, I should probably take my camera to take good pictures on this trip. But then I was like, I don't take good pictures. I barely know that camera. I've only used it for video, and I don't have a lot of space anyways. But what I did end up doing was I found it surprisingly enjoyable to take pictures, especially because there's so many people taking pictures the whole time. And then people in my group, etc., are all like selfies or let's take pictures of us. But it was so nice in these moments where, like, you know, hey, everybody else is in the store, they're checking stuff out, I'm already done, and I'm just standing here and I'm like just looking around being like, oh, that's a nice shot, and just like taking my phone out and like taking a nice shot and like trying to like this was a weird trip for me where I got a little bit into photography, where I was just like, I'm gonna try and find the interesting shots, not the ones that everybody else is taking. Like I feel like you probably have that urge as well when you're traveling, Kyle.
It's so much stronger when you're traveling than it is when you're just at home or somewhere familiar, because everything is new. So you're already sort of like your sight is just intaking all this information, and it just sort of like fires away of like, oh, that looks cool. That looks cool. You're so much more aware of your surroundings. I didn't bring like my DSLR. I didn't bring that with me when I went to Tokyo. Partially because I was going to be there for so long. I was there for, I think it was 41 days and 42 nights or something like that. And I just had my phone with me, which is actually this I've had this same phone for like 3-4 years now. And I remember my hotel was in Ueno, just south of Ueno Park. And I remember the first night that I was able to go out after quarantine, because it was still during COVID, I walked down an alleyway and literally I was like, whoa, this is like really picturesque. And it was just one of those things of like, it was like a mini, I'll post some pictures in the Discord, but it was like a mini Japanese version of like a Times Square, but like completely miniaturized, where it was like like people were sort of funneling the same way that you would in Times Square, but it was really tiny. And I was just like blown away at how cool it looked. And everything was like that when you were there. And it's just got, Japan has this really cool energy to it. So I totally get what you're like, what you experience for sure.
Yeah, there's part of me that I'm not going to do this because it's one of those things where it costs a lot of money and I know I won't use it nearly as much as it costs. But I would love to get one of those much, much smaller, more portable mirrorless cameras, probably micro four thirds system, so I could just use my current lenses, because like I've got a Pixel 8 Pro, camera's pretty good on it, but the one thing that it desperately lacks is any sort of depth of field. You know, and there were shots where I was like, I want this in focus and I want everything else out of focus, and it just doesn't do it. So there's part of me that's like, I would love to have one of those cameras and just carry it around with me, but I don't want to have, you know, $1,000 off my neck just to use occasionally, you know?
Yeah, it's a commitment when you buy something like I have my Canon R6, and it's like big, like it's a chunky camera and it's heavy. And even if you have a strap, like you're still just lugging it around. You've got the lenses. If you want a different like, unless you have a variable length lens, you're going to have multiple lenses with you. It's such a hassle, which is why I was really surprised at how much I like my phone. But I think you've got the right idea of having something small that's lightweight, but super versatile as far as like the depth of field and the f-stop and stuff. That's the way to go.
Yeah, I think the other way to go, I don't think this exists as well as I want it to yet, is every now and then you see those phones that have like 12 lenses on them and they're like, this is the photographer's phone. And they're never as good as they advertise, but the first time somebody makes a good one of those where it's like, hey, this phone's a little bit more expensive, but it comes with a fuckload of lenses that work really well for photography, I would jump on that because that would be awesome.
I have a set of iPhone lenses from Land Rover that they gave out. So when you bought a new Land Rover, they gave you a set of phone lenses for your like iPhone. And my friend's parents had bought a picture of your car Land Rover
when it breaks down on the side of the road.
And I have a set of these lenses that like they're like magnetic onto phone. This is again like
that's pretty cool.
Probably 10 years ago I got these.
It's so funny.
I can grab them.
Yeah.
But it's funny you bring up photography because I'm going away this weekend. And for the past 2 or 3 years, I've been into, as people know, into 35 millimeter photography, film photography. And it's been super fun. I love my Minolta. It's gorgeous and takes fantastic photos. And I love my Olympus point and shoot because it also takes great photos. But I'm also sick of taking bad photos, especially on film. And I'm not quite at the point where I'm developing myself so that there's a cost there and everything. So the other day when I took my A6300 out and I was like doing stuff with it, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I could take pictures with this camera. Yeah. So I literally like, oh, I'm going to take my A6300, make everything manual except like a light meter, and then just try to take good photos as if it's a film camera and to get better at, focusing quick and taking shots. And of course, I'll probably put it on auto a couple times to take photos. But I was like, oh,
well, you just do like shutter priority.
Right. Here's the actual cheaper way for me to learn how to take good photos without wasting tons of money in film. And I hate taking photos with my phone because I just feel like a person taking photos with a phone, in that sort of sense. Like I like the object that its purpose is to do the thing. So like taking pictures with the camera. So it's just funny you brought that up.
To be fair, I think I would have brought my camera if I wasn't so intent on bringing back so many things. Like I didn't have room to like lug my, like if I could have brought my Pelican case, I definitely would have, but I was like, I gotta save space for like, I gotta bring back like a bunch of stuff, and I'm glad I did. But next time, definitely we'll bring it.
Yeah. Because that's a good point. Is we did end up having to buy an extra piece of luggage just for the souvenirs we were bringing back. It happens. Will was scrambling for something. I hope this is worth it.
It's not really. I'm trying to take the lens caps off. See, they're like these little lenses.
Oh, yeah.
That go on the iPhone, and it's a set of 3 of them, and supposedly they're good. I don't know. I think there's like a what? Oh, look at that! Oh, I'm so tiny. Oh god, wrong way. Anyways, these are neat.
There's a company. There's a company. The wide angle will make it bigger. It's fine. There's a company called Moment that makes a bunch of like slap-on iPhone camera attachments, and I just realized that they make a 133 anamorphic lens, and I'm looking at some of the pictures and it looks terrible. Like it looks
it's like
bad.
But you ever seen the camera rigs when they're like, this movie was shot on iPhone, and then they have adapters to put cine lenses on it?
They use the processor to process everything. Yeah. It's still like crazy. This big. Yeah. Crazy.
But it was shot on iPhone.
I shot on iPhone. But anyways, so to close out the Japan trip, I do have some news related to this. So this is personal news, but it will impact Subpixel. Coming back from the Japan trip, we landed like Saturday 10:30 at night. Took Sunday to just kind of relax. Monday morning I get to work. I start work an hour early, log in, and it's just chaos as always, and all that stress and bullshit just lands back on me. And long story short, I quit my job. I put my 2 weeks notice in.
What?
So it's not fucking worth it anymore. And things are not getting better. So I quit my job. My last day is next Friday. I'm going to take at least a couple months off just doing nothing and that's probably going to mean some more Subpixel work, some more Subpixel streams. You know,
oh yeah,
we can talk behind the scenes and figure out what that means. But I'm literally just going to be stay at home for the next couple months, just fucking relaxing, trying to de-stress, and then after that, I'll figure out what my next job is or whatever. But hey, there may be some more Subpixel content and daytime Subpixel content coming soon, starting week after next.
Love it. Honestly, okay. Thank you for telling us live. That was
I'm so happy.
I thought it was gonna be something like innocuous, like just like a little fun anecdote. But no, you quit your job. As someone who got a job and is very rapidly finding my ceiling and realizing that I have to break through that in order to actually do the job. I'm already envious, but congrats. I know that feeling is really, really good. So
yeah, I'm not through it yet. It's unfortunately I have to live with the chaos hour by hour. People calling me like 8:30 last night, and I'm just like, I just have to put up with it for a little bit longer, and then I'm fucking out of here.
Oh, yeah, that's so good. I've been working hard for a year. It's been great. It's awesome. It's so good. Actually, now to have someone else who's, man, we could play video games during the day.
I know. It feels weird. Like, this is just the last thing, but I've been at this job 10 and a half years.
Oh my God.
my professional career was like 8 or 9 months at ZeniMax as a QA intern, and then this job. So like, this is the vast majority of my professional career. There was times where I was like, this job's fine, I'll probably retire in this job, you know, but it's just, it got to be too much. And it got to a point where it was like literally waking up in an anxiety attack because I have to go to work. And I was just like, this is not fucking worth it. You know?
All I can say is, I guess Sunday Service Season 2 is going to be awesome because you're going to have so much free time to work on it.
I know, I'm going to make my overlay. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. God damn. Well, that's fun. That's exciting. Congratulations. Yeah. Look at Ian lording it over all of us. He's quitting his job. He didn't even get fired. Piece of shit.
Well, you're not a real Subpixel person.
Yeah, you chose this.
I will say it was kind of funny because when I put the 2 weeks notice in, I talked to my boss, and then the VP of quality called me, and he's like, "What's going on?" And they were just like, "Oh, so you have another job lined up?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just gonna relax for a couple months and then find another job." And it was like half of it was them being like, "You're just quitting, like you're not leaving, you're quitting." And then the other part of it was them just being like, "Are you gonna be able to handle that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I have enough savings, and Mackie makes as much as I do, and like I supported her when she did this 2 or 3 times in the last couple of years, and she's gonna support me when I do this. Like, it's gonna be okay, guys. Like, I'm allowed to quit a shitty job, you know."
Are they older, like significantly older than you?
No, they're like my age, a little bit.
Really, older. That seems like such a boomer take. Because like, what is it? The average
toxic workplace take.
Or that. But it's like the average length of time that people our age stay at a job is like 3-4 years. So the fact that you were almost there for 10 is like, I would have expected you to do that.
Yeah. But I don't mean to shit talk too much, but it was so funny because they've only been there 3 or 4 years. So they're like, things will get better. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's been this bad for 4 years. The good times were 5 years ago. I can tell you all the events that have happened and led to this and why things are not going to get better because they haven't been getting better. And they're just like, oh yeah, that's a good point. And I'm like, yeah. I've got seniority on you on this one, unfortunately. Yeah.
Damn. VP and not giving a shit. That's Ian.
Yeah. So hey, anyways, I've been thinking when that Oblivion remake drops, I may or fuck it, I may just do a let's play of that during the day. Let's see what happens.
How dare you?
Will, you could do it too. What the heck?
Yeah.
Split screen.
Fucking piece of shit. No, I'll be your. You know what? If it comes out, no. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, absolutely.
4-player online co-op. Actually, when that comes out, I'll dress up as the adoring fan, and I'll just be there with you.
break into his house and just.
That'll be good.
Yeah,
that's a great Oblivion joke for everyone. Yeah. Anyways, okay, you're done with all your shit then. fucking piece.
Yeah, sorry for the long opening, but I feel like it was worth it.
It was good.
A long opening. Speaking of long,
we should go to Japan. I keep seeing flights for $800 round trip, and I tell you what, the yen's so dirt cheap right now. Everything's like 30% cheaper compared to the US. It's great.
True.
I think Karen would be really mad if I went to Japan without her.
You can both go.
Well, no, she has her office has the worst fucking vacation thing days ever. It's like I think it's five vacation, 5
a year
sick, and they don't stack.
Oh my god.
Which is why, yeah, it's awful. It's awful.
Fuck, that's when you're just how about unpaid time off? I'll take a month of unpaid time off because fuck you.
Because fuck you. Speaking of fucking, we've been playing a lot of games in the past 2 weeks, some more than others. I would just like to say that I beat Assassin's Creed Shadows in my Ubisoft Plus month. I did it.
Nice.
That's good. What was your playtime? Total playtime?
Fuck you. I want to probably like 50 hours.
Like
I think
40?
50 hours.
Okay.
49.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
And I hit credits. I hit an hour before credits, and I was like, oh, this game's getting interesting. And then I hit credits, and I went, well, fuck you too. Because nothing... That game is so awesome except for the story. Just it isn't good. Like, just goes nowhere. And also, do Assassin's Creed games just not engage with the modern day timeline story anymore? Like, there was the tiniest bit of it. Tiniest smidgen of it.
In Odyssey, it's like maybe like 2% of the story happens outside of the Animus, and everything else, and you can skip all that stuff. Like there's no actual gameplay. It's all cinematics or whatever. So you just so I don't annoying. Give a shit.
There was there's a moment at late game, like again 48 hours in, that like there's some like Templar stuff, and I'm like, oh yes, the good shit, the Assassin's Creed shit. As someone who replayed Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 last year, I'm like, yeah, the good shit. And then they vaguely touch on it, and I'm like,
but hasn't the series always been like that, where they leave the modern day stuff to be like J.J. Abrams-esque, where they're like, there's just enough there to tease you every now and then, but you're never really getting a payoff.
1 and 2, and I think like Brotherhood and Revelations, you're like playing outside the Animus a good bit, and like using your skills, the bleeding effect and all that. And 1, even with all those mysteries and the cages you were in and all that stuff was neat. Even Black Flag is the first person you work for the game developer, and you're walking around doing stuff. So like,
gotcha.
But in this game, it was only side missions that popped you into the Animus loading area, and you walked around as a glowy person, and this other worldly thing just talked.
I want to say I heard somewhere that they cut a lot of the modern stuff because people didn't like it. Which is the correct take.
I guess that's fine, but at this point, like, why even have that stuff in there? Just be like, oh, the Animus is open source now. You're a researcher researching Japan. It's a whole story about Japan that has nothing to do with the Assassins and Templars. Like, stop doing the Assassins and Templar stuff if you're not gonna do anything with it. You know, like, let me play a historical game.
It's just a holdover, and they worry that if they don't include it, the original fans will put up a fuss. I mean, they already missed the opportunity where the original plan that everyone thought was going to happen was in the first 3 Assassin's Creed. The first one was Desmond realizing like what was happening. The second one was him like perfecting, like getting all the skills of Ezio. And then the third one, everyone thought was going to be half in real world, half in the Animus. And in the real world stuff, he would be like a modern day assassin, and you would get to do like New York City or like, I don't know, like a big American city. And they just never did that. So I don't know.
Lame.
Big American cities.
American cities.
You made me think of that from GTA 4. Roman? That's his name. That's your cousin's name, right? Roman?
Yes.
Yeah, big American titties. Speaking of big American titties, Aria of Sorrow, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. I own the Advance collection on the Xbox Series X console, And I've always heard Aria of Sorrow is good. I was watching Vinny Vania, which is also my shirt. I was watching old playthrough of Symphony of the Night that Vinny was doing for Giant Bomb years ago. And I was like, oh, I should replay Symphony of the Night. And I said, no, I should play another Metroidvania. So I went with Castlevania Aria of Sorrow. And the game is fucking fantastic. Absolutely.
Now, which one is this? And by which one, I mean, I know there's different formats of Castlevanias. Like there's from like 2D side scroller all the way to there was like a 3D one at some point. So what does this fall within?
This is the Symphony of the Night Metroidvania style game.
Okay, so side scroller, and then what's the era graphics? Is this?
It's Game Boy Advance graphics.
PlayStation.
So, but it's not. It's Game Boy Advance pixel art. It's not Game Boy Advance like the realistic attempt stuff they did with some of those games.
Gotcha.
It's really good. I highly recommend it. I had a blast with it. Especially if you like Metroidvanias. It's not too hard. There's a lot of cool weapons and secrets. I used a guide maybe once or twice because I went to the wrong areas a couple times and like powered through them. But most of the bosses either took one try or one or two tries. I fought Death for a really long time and then realized I was like super under leveled. So I went and leveled up a little bit and then came back. But yeah, Aria of Sorrow, Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, highly recommend.
Sorry, I just Googled it because I'd never played it. I've actually never played a Castlevania game, if you can believe it. So maybe that's something I got to jump on. But anyway, I was looking up Aria of Sorrow, and there's a record available, or there was, but it's sold out. And I clicked on another option on the same store. There's a collection of music from Castlevania Red and Black, original game soundtracks. It's a 46 LP box set.
Hell yeah.
Of Castlevania music. It's $549, but you get 46 records.
Damn.
That's crazy to me.
Wild.
That's wild.
Because of the limitations of it being the Game Boy console, the music isn't as amazing as the musical orgy of pleasure that is Symphony of the Night's music. It is some of the best video game music ever made. But it is still really good for the sound chip on a Game Boy Advance.
Here, let me put it.
Really enjoyed it. It took me maybe 8 hours to get through the whole thing. And then there's an ending, and then there's like a secret ending. If you fight Dracula with this certain souls equipped, you get to like go fight something else afterwards, which was also really fun.
Jesus.
Yeah, you get to fight Jesus. Also neat story, little fun, little neat story. Okay, have both of you played the new Indiana Jones game?
I haven't beaten it, but I have played it.
Do you guys care about spoilers?
At this point, no.
Okay, Kyle, you do. Okay, that's fine. I just realized. Maybe I'll wait till Jake's on this podcast, maybe in 2 weeks. I just really want to talk about the end of that game, and Jake and I were blue balls the last time we tried to do this. So I would love to do that just to tell Ian about it.
So I'm in Giza right now. That's where I am, which I know is only the second.
Yeah, you got halfway. Yeah,
I'm only like 9 hours in, so yeah.
Yeah, no worries. I'll wait for Jake to come on, but I put it in here as a reminder because I really want to tell Ian about it because I think it'd be really funny. So remind me, Ian, if I don't remember, remind me next week to do Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
If you guys want to have a little chat, I can take my headphones off.
No, it's fine.
I haven't finished it, so
I can edge another 2 weeks. Plus, Jake really should be here because he and I messaged about it. So we gooned together.
Is it sexual?
Yeah, okay. It's very sexual. You get to see his penis. I'm so sorry. I revealed it. That's the great circle. It's this asshole.
Okay.
The other game I've been playing, I play this game from 4:30 until Karen gets home. So that ranges from 4:30 to like 5:30, 4:30 to 6:30, around that sort of time. It's called Dante's Inferno. Came out in 2010. This game rocks, and I love it. And I got to punish Pontius Pilate, which was really funny.
What?
for being a bad boy. I am in greed right now for upholding the law. I'm in greed right now. I went through lust, which was very horny. I went through gluttony, which was very disgusting. This game looks like a first round passive like video game before it gets heavily censored by the ESRB, and it didn't. They just took all the stuff ESRB wrote and said, no, thank you. We don't want to do that. Because it is so gross and disgusting. There's so many titties. There's so many penises that aren't penises because I don't think they could get away with that. But they're very clearly phallic symbols. When you first enter Lust, this giant tower smashes up through the floor and like rises up past you. And then you have to get to the top of the tower, which is fun. I can say...
what's the gameplay style? Is it like Devil May Cry?
Yeah, I believe it's like Devil May Cry. My go-to is Ninja Gaiden. It's like the Ninja Gaiden fighting enemies. You got to make sure to block. You got combos and stuff like that. It's not as hard as Ninja Gaiden, thank God. I don't think I could do another one of those games in my lifetime. But it is just very fun. Classic. It feels. I love the Xbox because I'm playing this Xbox 360 game and I just feel like I'm teleported back to 2010 playing this game. It just looks so good. It looks how you remember it looks, and it just runs with all those archaic systems. Even like there's a bunch of walls that are like supposed to be people behind it. You know, whenever like hell's depicted, it's all like the bodies in the walls and everything. It's like that, but it's clearly just like a video, very low res GIF of like people back there. And I'm just like, this game would look so awesome with a remaster to like look realistic, and I'm sure on a CRT it looks really much better. But just seeing those edges, you're just like, the effort that went into making this stuff work, because that technology wasn't there. Because you could easily probably do that in modern day graphics and work that out and have it look really, really good. But just to see how they did it is really neat. Even this boss fight I'm in right now, there's like, this is what?
This is the Visceral Games.
The Visceral Games, yeah, right? From 2010. Even this boss fight I'm in, there's like just JPEGs on the side around the boss arena of like distant cave that goes really far, but you can clearly tell it's just like, it's not like N64 style, but it's just
like a bad Counter-Strike custom map. Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, this would look so good with just like video game technology today to like update a lot of this stuff. So that's super fun.
Do you want to know the controversy that is on the Wikipedia page for this game?
Oh, I do not know the controversy.
Okay. All right. It's just a single paragraph. So in October of 2009, it was announced that the game would include a PlayStation 3 trophy, an Xbox 360 achievement entitled Bad Nanny, which is awarded to players for killing monsters resembling children, supposedly the lost souls of unbaptized infants. Yep. This sparked a conflict with the International Nanny Association, in which they encouraged supporters to oppose the game, which is crazy.
I'd say I got that achievement because those little babies suck. It's also very informative. Like every time you go to like hell, so Virgil is guiding you like he guided Dante in the original book poem, and he's like telling you about all this shit, and you're just like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, why are they doing this? But he like the unborn souls and everything of unbaptized babies. He's like, well, what about all the people like who were around before Jesus and stuff? They're like, oh, they're all in limbo because we don't know what to do with them, and they're too good to put lower in hell. It'll give the people who are even lower in hell something to aspire to, so we have to leave them in limbo so they don't like cheer up the worst people. And it's just like, it's fucked up. It's cool. The short story is you're returning from the Crusades, and death comes to claim you, and you're like, I'm supposed to go to heaven. He's like, because of the indulgences the Pope gave us. And he's like, yeah, those aren't real. The Pope's not allowed to do that. And so you're like all pissed off. And they make like these like actually good points of being like, oh, you thought everything you did in the Crusades was holy? Like, you barged into like Muslims' houses and just slaughtered them and like killed them and everything. And it's like, what if that happened to you? Like, and then that's exactly what like happens to his family. He's like, how do you feel now? Like this guy doesn't understand what you're saying, but he's just here to kill you just because you exist. And it was like kind of neat. So I don't know if like I don't know if at the end of the thing Dante's gonna be like, I repent and all this stuff, but it's pretty neat. It's fun, and I enjoy it. So check that out. And then sorry for talking so long, but I also played and beat Blue Prince, which is a brand new puzzle game from Dogu Bomb. This came out last week. It was teased a lot by like Jason Schreier, and Dan Reichert said he really liked it. It is basically a modern Myst, like I think is the closest like puzzle style I would give this game. It is you have inherited. Well, you haven't inherited anything, but your grandfather has died, and you're at this house, and you're supposed to find the 46th room in this house, and you will win your inheritance. As you enter the house, you're in the entrance hall, and then off the entrance hall are 3 doors. Every door you go to, you draft the next room from a deck, and you try to get to the antechamber, which you think will lead you to the 46th room. You actually have no idea where that is. And you play day by day. It resets every day. There are certain things that eventually don't reset that you can place in your house, and it's neat. So you'll like go to the door and be like, okay, I'm gonna place a hallway here, and then that hallway only has one exit. And so you're like, okay, so now I'm against a wall. I need to place something down to let me go up. So you place like a reading nook, and off of reading nooks, sometimes you get certain cards that come up. So you can draft to the next room. So you're in the reading nook, you're like, okay, let me get a library. You unlock the library. Oh, the library has a checkout thing. I select a book. The next time I lay down the library, which will be the next day, the book I ordered today will be there. So there's that mechanic of searching the house in Blue Prince. And then on top of that are all of the puzzles that are just maddening and so good. Everything in that house, I maybe wasted like 15 days before I just noticed I should be paying attention to everything. It every time I think something isn't important, hours later I find out how important that thing was and that I should have been paying attention to it. I have I want to say 20 pages of notes.
Oh my god.
These are all of my handwritten notes for the game. I won't show them too close because they're very revealing. I recorded down an entire library book so I wouldn't have to keep checking it out. There is so much stuff, and I have rolled credits on this game, and I still haven't figured out maybe half of the puzzles I've written down. And I'm not mad about that. It's just I have so much information to decipher, and there were so many moments that I figured it out, and I was just like fist pumping. I was so like, there was a couple things like they hint to a lot that I just never connected, and I connected it, and I just stopped and like took out a new piece of paper and spent like 20 minutes redrawing a whole thing to like figure out a puzzle. And then like I still wasn't sure, and then that puzzle was figuring itself out in my run, and I was just like blown away from it. So I rolled credits on it. I cried at the end of the game because it was very good. I have hints at what the full story is, but I got enough of it to know kind of like the emotional impacts they were trying to get at. And it was just really good. I unfortunately gave the developer money, and it's apparently on Game Pass. So how dare I support this game? I would highly recommend, if you like this game, go buy it and support them. But it is also on Game Pass, which I didn't realize. So if you want a cheaper way to play it, that is your avenue. But I highly recommend Blue Prince. It's my current game of the year. It has faults for sure. It took me maybe 10 hours. I would say 6 to 8 hours to not want to throw this game against the ground and scream at it. It was just like day after day of dead ending and being like, what the fuck is this game? Like, why is this game doing this to me? And I think that's a disservice to the full game. Like, I really wish it didn't have that issue. The But other than
yeah,
that,
because I have about 3 hours in it, and I'm done with it.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
dang.
It is. Yeah, it takes too long to get into it, and I think that's a problem.
Mhm.
But it is one of the best puzzle games I've ever played. It's truly fantastic. And that's the games I've been playing this week. Yay, Kyle!
Congrats. Oh no, mine is boring. I got gifted The Last of Us Remastered Part 1, not Part 2.
Genuine question: which one is this? Because
the first game, the original game.
No. But I mean, there's 3 versions of Last of Us 1, right? There's the original PS3. There's the PS4 remaster.
Yes, this is the PC remaster,
which is
also
the PS5
PS5
remaster.
Yeah.
Because it's the Part 2 engine, but with Last of Us Part 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That answers the question.
Yeah. I had not played Last of Us in a long time. I like the game. There are parts of it that I had completely forgotten about, like certain encounters. Also, the best parts of that game is just fighting humans. The clickers are only annoying.
Mhm.
They're also really easy to deal with, and they're like, I've never played part 2. I've obviously had it spoiled for me, so I know what happens. But I'm interested to maybe play the second one. Just yeah, they kiss the clickers. The clickers are gay.
It's that's why they want to kill them.
Clickers, so,
and the fungus is 8. Oh,
yes.
I get it.
Yeah. It's an allegory. Get it? Neil Druckmann is a genius. You know, everything he writes is gold. Yeah, but it's funny. I loved this game when it came out, and I still think that the story is very well done, even though they completely just straight up adapted it for the TV show and didn't really change much of anything other than the best part, which was the gay characters. This is one of the few games that I've ever played where, as I was playing it, I really felt how like mechanical it was, and not in a good way. Like the way, and I think because I finally reached a point where I was like, okay, I'm over this story now. Like it doesn't have that same emotional resonance that it did 10 years ago whenever it first came out. And now I'm like playing it as a sweaty gamer who's like, I only care about like doing like the next action. And it really is just like, okay, this is so painfully linear. And just the way it unfolds is just so like Naughty Dog-esque. And I finally reached a point where I was like, I was like halfway through and I was like, do I agree with Ian about this game now? It's just very underwhelmed. It looks nice. Like it's a very beautiful remaster. But everything else about it is just, it has kind of gone by the wayside, I think, over the past 10 years. So I'm over it. I will play part 2 just so I can say that I've eventually played it. But I hope that they don't do anything else with this series moving forward. And I really don't like, we were all kind of mid on the first season of the TV show, right? Like it had like that third episode, I think was sort of like the best thing because it was something completely different from the game, but everything else was whole cloth, almost exactly like what happened in the game. So it really wasn't that interesting. They already have a third season planned. And I'm like, how? Like, what are you going to do with these characters?
Oh,
and
it's the second season is not the entirety of the second game. They already said that.
Oh, I missed that. Is it the third and fourth season? I forget what HBO like said that they were doing, but I don't know. I just don't know.
I don't think the way I understood it was they're basically taking the second game and stretching it over multiple seasons. So they're not
because
so
they realize they can make more money that way.
It doesn't mean new content or new story.
Sorry, this is from IGN. The Last of Us will probably run for 4 seasons, HBO exec says. So like
I would have taken like a Last of Us anthology would have been cool, like just random characters and like the Bill episode, you know, just the slice of life, almost like Max Brooks's World War Z book. You're just getting like slice of life during the zombie apocalypse. But I agree with you. The Last of Us Part 1, Like, I think that story does so much heavy lifting. The story and the vibes of the game help you overlook the mechanical issues of that game to get you through it. Where that game is still really long. I remember being like all those moments that hit are good and they hit well and are fun, but there's so many moments in between those that you're just like, get me out of here. And like, because they're trying to do the like horror thing, and you're like, it's not the horror thing. I'm just running around this basement trying to restart this generator so I can get out of this fucking thing. And that's the problem with that game is you don't have the next story beat to carry you to it because you already know it in a replay and stuff like that, and you're just like, ugh, I don't want to deal with this.
Well, and it's even little things where it kind of pulls like a Red Dead Redemption 2 issue where there are accessibility features that you can turn on where it's like, I don't want to have to fucking press X to pick up every little piece of whatever utility pieces that you can use to upgrade your weapons. You can just turn it on. It'll toggle, like Joel will just do this automatically, which is great, except for the fact that he still has to animate picking up every piece. So he'll walk over and it doesn't automatically add it to your inventory. You have to wait as he goes
off.
And he literally you're like crouched down and he goes like this.
The button.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck?
It's because
it's little things like that are so annoying.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's cinematic and cool the first 15 times you do it.
When you don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. That I will say I never finished part 2, but part 2 I enjoyed. It felt it was in the era of video games where like you were in an open world area doing these sort of missions. Like the maps were much bigger, so it's still linear like the first game, but it's you're in these environments that you can kind of go about different ways. Plus the mechanics are much different. Not much different, but different in 2 where you're like you can fully crouch or fully prone and like do all this freedom stuff that isn't in 1.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that. But again, I keep being like, oh, I should go back to the game. I should start it over, but I don't want to start it over because I know all the stuff going into it and I don't want to replay it. But I don't want to just jump back in because I don't remember how to play the game. So I think I'll just never finish part 2. I'll never know what happened to Joel.
It only took me 16 hours to beat the first one in this playthrough, and I wasn't like doing anything like, oh, I have to 100% it. I was just going through, and that still felt a little long for me. Like there are sections of that game where I'm like, this is like, I don't want to be doing this right now. Or and from what I've heard and the videos that I've watched and the reviews that I've read, part 2 is sort of like a lot of backtracking and like flashbacks and I don't know. It seems like it's going to be annoying to me when I play it, but yeah.
I always hate, I don't know why this is. I don't know if you guys are the same way. In video games, when you have to play a flashback, I always get angry because I'm always mad that I'm not advancing the current story I'm doing. Like, obviously there's differences when you're playing a flashback that like adds things, but it's like in the Assassin's Creed game, I kept having to do these Yasuke flashback missions, and I was like, these are only adding little story things, but they're story things that don't matter at all to the overall story, and I have to play these missions to get to the more actual story missions. So that was pissing me off because I couldn't fast forward past it. But yeah, there's just those occasional filler missions where you're just like, I don't want to play this again.
Well, and you can see like the logic of the developers being like, oh, this will be a nice break from the action. But if they don't make it worth it, all you want to do is just end it and go back to advancing the main story. So I get that. And especially like that just seems like such a Ubisoft thing where it's like,
oh yeah,
we'll do this and it's like it'll add variety. Like you can see like the executive board members being like, yes, like this is great. We're not just, it's different than the other Assassin's Creed games, but we forgot to make it interesting, but who cares? So I don't know, stuff like that is, I get you. I feel you.
Yeah, they're like character moments that would be great in a video game that earned them. But this Ubisoft Assassin's Creed game did not earn them, and I don't want to look for Lady Oichi's cats for her daughters. I just don't. I just want to assassinate people.
That was a really pivotal part of Yasuke's history. It was important.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of important history, Ian Gibson, what have you been playing?
So I did take my Nintendo 3DS to Japan with me, loaded it full of games, loaded my phone full of games. And it turns out the only game I really wanted to play was Picross E4. I'm sure you guys have this thing where you're going on a trip and you end up giving yourself like 3 times the amount of boredom killers than you actually need. You guys do that?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's kind of what happened with this, but it ended up whenever I pulled the 3DS out, whether I was on like a bus to the race or on the plane or whatever, I was just like, this is my podcast game, basically. And so it was great for me to be able to catch up on some podcasts while traveling and play Picross at the same time. So shout outs to Picross E4 and that whole series on the 3DS. Pretty good. The other game I've started playing lately on the Vita is similar to that, kind of a game I can just relax and chill to while I've got a podcast on or a YouTube video on in the background, which is Hot Shots Golf World Invitational. I love a good golf game. This one's pretty good. And we played, what was the one we played off PlayStation Plus recently, Will? It was
Everybody's
Golf. It was Everybody's Golf, but didn't have I can't remember the subtext on it because like they're like 7 or 8 deep in the series.
It's the same. It's part of Hot Shots. It's the Japanese name.
It's
right.
Exactly. Yeah. So we played one of them on PlayStation Plus, and that was really good. And there's a new one that just got announced in the Switch 1 Direct that's coming to the Switch. So I'm excited for that as well. So honestly, that's
just
kind of
called
all I've been playing.
Golf.
Oh, really?
The one we played.
So that was like a.
And then the new one is Everybody's Golf Hot Shots, which is awful. Why are we doing this?
Resident Evil Biohazard. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So shout outs to, Picross and golf games for keeping me occupied when you need just a little bit of game, but not a full game. Perfect little time killers there. But yeah, that's basically all I've been playing.
Hell yeah. I love it. Well, that's what? You want to fucking go?
Yeah, let's leave.
Well, that's it. I mean, we actually don't have any news this week. Here's the highlights. Switch 2 is still not available for pre-order in the United States.
We still don't know what the U.S. price is. They
still don't know what the U.S. price
is.
There's
no guarantee they're going to stick to it.
It's gonna be like $550, $600. Like
there's an Oblivion remaster that people still don't think is real.
Important question here, Kyle. Will and I talked about this the other day. What is the price that the Switch 2 has to be at or under for you to buy one at launch?
That's an interesting question because I'm now flush with cash thanks to my new job. So prior to getting this job, I would have been like, I can't even afford one. But now, also I got a pretty nice tax return for once. So I would probably say if I can get my hands on a pre-order, I will get one. If it's 600 or under, I think I would do that. Yeah.
I think that was our price too, wasn't it? Well,
I said 500.
Well, I would say 600 for the Mario Kart World bundle.
The bundle. Yeah. That's the one.
In my secret heart of hearts, I would pay anything.
But I'll just reiterate this because it's still crazy. Like it was one of those reasons why I was not going to buy a PS5 at launch. And then I was like, I can afford it. The price is not going to come down for years. So the only thing I lose out on is not having the console for 2 or 3 years while I wait for it to go on sale. But this is the opposite situation, which is if you pay it now, you're paying the tariff price. And given our current administration, that tariff could go away any fucking minute. So you could pay $600 at launch and a week later it's $500. So it's like, it's a weird situation.
My true price is whatever the cheapest someone in our circle will pay for it, because as soon as someone else has it, I want it, and I will then pay the price of what they have paid for it. So if it's $600, I will pay that. Like if you and Kyle are buying one, I'm like, well, of course I have to buy one so we can stream and stuff.
I have to.
Well, I have to.
Yeah.
What you should have done, Ian, was stayed in Japan, and then you could have gotten the multi-language version and gotten a couple of them, and then came back.
Well, so you get the Japanese only since pretty much speak Japanese.
Or the Japanese only.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, is that I believe the price is the same in Japan for the multi-language, multi-region, but they're selling a super cheap Japan-only region-locked, language-locked version. And I don't think it's necessarily because of the tariffs. I think it's because the yen is so weak right now that they have to sell a specialized cheaper version for their home market, otherwise their home market would not be
not going to buy it.
Right
Yeah. I get it. That's crazy. I mean, props to them for doing that. I feel like some companies would just be like, fuck it. Like,
but I did see new Switch Lites for like $150 in Japan, which is crazy.
Damn. Well, I'm excited for the Switch 2. I will try to get a pre-order when they go up.
If you, Will, you had mentioned, because I don't know, anyone up there is like going to pre-order one up near you. But if we can get if we can all get pre-orders somewhere like close together, like I would definitely be down for like a pre-order night event sort of thing.
Midnight pickup.
Yeah, I'd be down. I was just talking to Karen because I was like, because June 4th is our anniversary. I was like, hey, you don't want to do anything for our anniversary like on the day, do you? Because because I said that to her, and like 2 days later she comes back and she texts me. She said, or actually she got up at like 5 a.m, and I woke up to a text at like 5:05 from her. This is later in the morning. When I woke up, and it was just like, "Why did you say I didn't want to do anything on our anniversary, or I never want to do?" And in my head, I'm like, "Oh, she's been stewing on this." And I like went to her. I was like, "Okay,
no.
You had just gotten home from work or something, and you were going upstairs, and I realized you didn't want to listen to me, so I just stopped talking to you." And I was like, "What I actually said was." Normally, we wait to the weekend of our anniversary to do something. I just wanted to make sure you didn't want to plan something the Wednesday night or whatever it was. She was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, I almost stepped into a minefield.
Jesus.
But it worked
Nintendo.
out. So yeah, I'm excited for that. What was the other news I said? Oh yeah, the Oblivion remaster leaked. It's still not officially announced. I saw so many people on the Oblivion subreddit still saying it might be fake. And I'm just like,
screenshots.
I believed it ever since the leak, obviously from the big Bethesda leak. But just in my head, I was like, oh, they could have canceled it by now because it was those super old documents that said like the Oblivion remaster on everything. And so people not believing it ever existed is crazy to me. It definitely existed.
Wasn't it also in the Nvidia leaks? From years and years ago. Yeah.
And so people still weren't believing. I'm like, guys, no one is faking these screenshots, and
no one's faking these screenshots and putting them on the developer's website.
Like, what are you talking about? So, I'm excited. I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'm excited. But as it's finally happened, where a game I deeply care about is being remastered. And it just...
So you're scared.
I'm not... Yeah, I'm just anxious about it. Because like Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 and Oblivion, it's just a vibe for me. I just like to go into those games and just walk around and do shit. And I know like almost every voice line when I'm talking to people and can just bark back at them. And it's just... I know the intricate workings of that. And I just... to remaster that... They're just, I want the remaster to capture that magic. And I know if they don't do that, I will be upset for no reason, because there's no reason for them to capture my nostalgic magic of the 2006 when I played Oblivion, but I want that desperately. And so I'm just scared. I'm not going to be able to walk into a bar and hear everyone slurp for 30 seconds because I love that. It's so good. And it's just
shout out to your Oblivion video.
It's shout out to my Oblivion video. There's so many things that make that game feel so real because they just gave the NPCs almost intelligence in a way where they just have daily routines and they can fuck shit up. There's a guy who, if he accidentally picks up bread, crashes the game. There's people who just like show up late to things, all this sort of stuff. So I'm excited and I'm happy for it, but I keep finding myself, and I try to stop myself from being miserly about it, because it's like I'm the old boomer guy, and I'm just like, I don't like all these changes in my neighborhood and all that stuff. And then I end up voting for Todd Howard, and then he charges me tariffs. It's crazy. But I am excited for it. I think it'll be fun. we get to close shut the jaws of Oblivion again. I hope they use all the original voice lines. I assume they would have to. Maybe they'll retake some stuff, but it looks cool. Screenshot leaks. I don't know when they're gonna announce it formally. It's supposedly being released next week. It says week of 21st. Shadow dropped.
Yeah.
So I have wrapped up most of the video games I'm playing, other than even though I have like 30 in my Notion thing of saying currently playing. I'll play some Oblivion if it comes out. I'll watch Ian play it as well. We should have an Oblivion race. No,
I'll play it.
That's not true. Kyle, you're not allowed to play it because I didn't say your name, but no, you better play it. Have you played the original?
Okay,
I know Ian hasn't.
Yeah. I beat it. The first ever Elder Scrolls game that I played was Morrowind on my friend's original Xbox. And I specifically remember the guy who falls out of the sky at like the beginning of the game with like the ring, the boots or whatever. And I was like, "What is?" I never heard of Elder Scrolls. So when Oblivion came out, I remember I was watching XPlay or G4 or whatever, and they gave it like an amazing review. And I was like, "Okay, well, I don't have a 360, so I got to find some way of playing it." And I basically spent that summer, or I forget when it came out, but whatever time period it was at, I had a break from school and I was like, I'm playing Oblivion, and it was pretty cool. I beat it on my friend's console, so it was fun.
I think I've told the story before, but Morrowind was the first game I ever bought from GameSpot, EB Games in our mall. That I remember clearly purchasing. I remember the guy on the back, the dark elf, and all this stuff. And I remember I took it out of the bag to like look at it as we were walking around. I remember my mom yelling at me for doing that because she didn't want it to look like I stole it or something, I guess. But yeah, Morrowind is... surprisingly, I have not beaten Morrowind. My probably 100 hours in Morrowind were walking around the starting village, stealing things from everyone, and then selling it back to the person at the beginning, and then wandering around and dying, and then killing main characters where it pops up. You kill them, and it pops up and says, the threads of time have unraveled. And then you're allowed to just keep playing after that. You've ruined the main story of the game, but you can continue playing. And that game also is like, hey, here's your journal. It tells you where to go. Like, you just have to figure it out, which is great.
There's a YouTuber who he was really small, and then he did a couple videos on Morrowind, and it was basically a retrospective playthrough where he refused to look at any guides or like try and figure out using outside help. And he was like, this game is rough, but after a little bit of like, time spent in it and within that sort of context, you start to basically understand how things unfold and where it's trying to point you. But he did say, is like, there are some things that just don't make sense. Like they straight up do not make sense as a player. So it's interesting to see, obviously how much everyone relies on the little checker on the map or the compass or whatever. And back in the day,
didn't have it.
Didn't really do that.
The other thing I never realized as a kid is the combat is rolling a dice every time you hit. So even though you're hitting it on screen, it is rolling a die. So and I never knew that as a kid. I would always like try to like make sure to hit like certain spots and stuff. But yeah, it's just rolling a die every time you hit. Immaculate fun game, but Oblivion's where it's at for me. I think it's probably my favorite game of all time, just because of the ways it makes me feel inside. It gives you, those little tinglies. Oh, I love those tinglies. Folks, order your tinglies today. tinglies.com/fuck you. That's it. That's the show, right? Right? Ian's a little under the weather still. He wants to leave.
I want to go to bed.
He wants to go to bed. I'm really excited that you're going to be unemployed. I was literally just thinking today, I was like, what if I set up my green screen in here and did like a wider green screen shot for like something that we were like, also, I was almost like doing a green screen set for some sort of, I don't know, production. I don't know. We got a lot of things cooking. This is good news for Subpixel.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
Kyle, lose your job. We'll make Kyle lose his. We'll make Jake as well lose his job. He would love to actually lose his job, I bet.
I'm ready to go back on unemployment. So.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get out of here. That's going to be it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've been your host, Will Crosby. Joining me this week was the lovely Ian Gibson and the wonderful and employed Kyle Bailey. We will be back next Tuesday, I think, with more Schedule 1. That was a pretty fun drug dealer game. Yep. Ian made the drugs at home. Daddy picked them up and sold them to everyone in town. It was actually quite a good arrangement.
Join you guys.
Good arrangement. You should join us because it's very fun.
It's fun.
I keep trying to see if it's going to go on sale or like check for sales, because I just want to send it to people and be like, come play with us. It's really fun. And then we won't have a local chat next week, but we'll have it in 2 weeks. Subpixelfilms.com is where you can go and check out all of our sweet content. And I love you, and we'll see y'all then. Have a great night, and goodbye.
Bye.